The Big 12 Experience, Arizona State Sun Devil 2024 preview on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win 325 times your pick 8. Sign up today with that promo code TCESUPN and claim your first pick, first time deposit offer up to $250 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm is loaded with tons of picks for that British Open. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. And welcome everybody into the Big 12 College Experience preview number 2. We stay in the great state of Arizona. We are in Tempe today for the Arizona State Sun Devil 2024 team preview. But first, I am Moneyline Mac, aka the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin, which means we are joined by, we're talking Big 12 football, so a guy that's got a family civil war in Stillwater, Fort Worth, Waco, everywhere in Orlando and Cincinnati, you name it along the Big 12. He is the green mowing, weed growing, Big 12 guru, Troy Tuning. What is up, Troy?
Man, there is nothing better than having golf on starting at 4 a.m. our time. It is the best. And, I'm always up getting ready to go out to the golf course to actually do shit. And waking up and already seeing people are 4 or 5 holes into the major championship of a tournament is always nice. It's like the when the Olympics are kind of set off time for us here on the East Coast time zone. It makes it, makes me feel like I'm like Colby and the guys out there on the West Coast. I don't have to stay up until fucking 1 in the morning to watch sports. It's kind of nice.
Indeed. Yeah, no, I if you wake up at like 6 or 7, they're already like the guys that went off first, they're already like 12, 13 holes in and half the field's already teed off. It is wild. I love the British Open. Shout out to Brown, who ruined my Shane Lowry first round leader, 50-1. So shout out to that jackass for burning the 2 out of the last 3. I thought I had Lowry big whiskey, but didn't come across. We'll swing for the fences next time, maybe give something out over the weekend. But enough talking about the British Open. Let's talk Arizona State Sun Devil 2024 team preview. And Troy, year 2 of the Kenny Dillingham era. Last year they finished 3-9, but honestly, I kind of was impressed by them the second half of the year. They weren't an embarrassment like we thought before the year they were going to be like 1-11, 2-10, and just roll over. They had injury after injury. Dillingham, they seem to be getting better and better down the stretch. They won, they beat Wazoo, they won at UCLA, and they should have honestly won at Washington. A questionable call. But now we're in year number 2. What are your overall thoughts on the Sun Devils as we head into year 2 of the Dillingham era?
Well, we both kind of feel the same way about Dillingham, where I do think that he's a pretty dang good football coach. I don't really think it's fair to judge him based on this. I mean, without pushing any buttons of Arizona State fans, but really a team that's completely empty of talent. There's not even really, they return Cameron Scatabo. That's kind of like a Taysom Hill for their team, I guess, where he does pretty much everything. Besides that, there's not a lot of names of guys, even last year and especially coming into this year, that, you're going to be able to lean on as a head coach to when things get rough. I still think he did a pretty good job. 1 possession game to Washington, like you mentioned, 1 possession game to Colorado, 1 possession game to California. Probably could have won any of those games. I know their season win total last year was also 4.5, and they came up a whole game shy of where they thought they would be. And I think that's that Fresno State game. I think that 29-0 loss to Fresno State. I think they were expecting Arizona State to play a little bit better in that one. Yeah. But I mean, Oklahoma State kind of broke loose a little bit late in that game, but it was kind of on edge the whole time. I think they at least
Utah.
Well,
in the opener,
they might have the same kind of thing going on this year with their schedule, where, I mean, not that Southern Utah is the hardest team, but then Oklahoma State, Fresno State, and your non-con, those aren't, pushover teams. Of course not. But getting the upset win, Washington State, and then going on the road to UCLA did at least make me think you've got to give Dillingham 3 or 4 years to see if he can, shape something up. But I mean, obviously, I think they're going to be an improved team compared to last year, but that's a very low bar.
It is a low bar. And we'll talk about what they return here on the other side. But first, well, it's college football season. No shit, Sherlock. That's why we're talking Arizona State right now. So get on over there and check out the Sports Gambling Podcast, where they got college football previews for you right now. Tune in wherever you get your podcasts or download in the SGPN app. All righty, let's get going, and shout out to the chat. David is talking smack on his he's an Arizona Wildcat fan, so no surprise he hates the Sun Devils, and that's why he's saying fork down. Production-wise, they bring back 11 starters. Honestly, they didn't really need to bring back much more than that off a 3-9 team. 7 starters on the front or on the offensive side, 4 on the defensive side. We talked about the schedule. Schedule's difficult. Let's talk about their offense. So Leavitt comes over from Michigan State, bolstered up the offensive line in the transfer portal. They got some skill guys back. What's your outlook on this offensive side of the Sun Devils, Troy?
I mean, it's a lot of question marks. Obviously, losing Rashada kind of hurts. You wait for that, higher touted quarterback that you finally recruited and all that, and he skips town, but that's kind of what happens in college football these days. And, Sam Leavitt was a pretty highly touted, I think he was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, because if I remember right, he was going to go to Washington State and then he flipped to Michigan State. But if you're getting recruited to play quarterback at Washington State, you've got to at least have some kind of a skill. Like, they push the ball. They're not, game manager quarterbacks out there. So you got to think maybe you get a diamond in the rough. Maybe you get, like a bronze coin. Not necessarily going to have, I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the top of the league in quarterback production, but hopefully he can stay standing. We would think that the offensive line is better than last year's offensive line, but again, we'll have to see as the first couple of games go by, because when you've got the Mod Podge transfer group of guys that are trying to gel, sometimes it works and sometimes it's a huge backfire. But I don't know. I mean, this offense, it just raises a lot of question marks. Again, there's not really, outside of Scadaba, there's not really anybody that you could just like point at and say, this guy's going to take the reins for me when I need something, when I need a big play offensively.
Yeah, and they returned a couple starters on the offensive line, headlined by Coleman, who had an injury last year. But the main thing, they bring in Leavitt from Sparty, who got a little bit of action last year. I think he played in 4 games, threw for 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So if he can, like you said, live up to a little bit of what we thought he could be coming out of high school, maybe this Arizona State offense can take a jump. But it's mainly this offensive line that you bring in a couple transfers, get a couple guys off injury. Can they hold up at the skill position? Like you said, Troy, they got the pieces, I think, honestly, to make some plays and stretch the field a little bit, but can they hold up on the front? On the defensive side, what are your thoughts on the defensive side? Because they bring back fewer starters, only bringing back 4 from last year's team.
Yeah, but the defensive side, they've got a safety that didn't play last year in Xavier Alford, and Shamari Simmons was probably their best defensive player, the other safety that they'll have. So when it comes to the back end, they should be okay. Hopefully Xavier Alford, returning from not playing last year, can kind of get back into game shape and stuff like that. But they do get a cornerback, Cole Martin, to transfer from Oregon. They've got a D tackle from Louisville, Jeff Clark, to transfer in. And they got another cornerback from LSU, LaTerrence Welsh. So I'm thinking that maybe the defensive side of this team is going to be their strength. I know there's one other guy, Prince DeBora? Yeah, Prince DeBora played the D line for them last year. I think he had 6 sacks. None of these are, eye poppers or game breakers. But I'm thinking maybe the defense is what they lean on. Maybe they can stop some teams' rushing attack. 2 safeties that make a lot of tackles. Maybe they can get downhill and slow down a couple of run-heavy teams and maybe scrape out a few games that we're not expecting. But I do think it's going to have to come from this defense.
Yeah, I like you said, they're recruiting at a high level with Dillingham. So I think they're a year away from really making another stride. But they do have some young talent on the defensive side, and you highlighted a couple of the guys. So maybe the defense does come along. Sometimes these younger defenses, they buy in more to the coaching staff and the scheme. So it's going to be interesting. Phil Steele has their experience ranked as 68th. Bill Conley, their production 49th. So kind of in the middle. You could argue if it's good experience, bad experience, because they weren't very good last year. Let's get over to their win total right here with the Arizona State Sun Devils. And those watching on youtube.com/the college experience sees the over-under win total at 4.5 for the season. To win the Big 12, don't bet this. Plus 125, whatever it is. To win it all, plus 60 or 60,000 or whatever that is. 6,000 to 1 is their odds. So Troy, obviously we don't think that they're going to win the national championship or the Big 12 title. We don't think that there's much value. But before we go game on the game, because sometimes we do sway ourselves from one side to the other based off of how the schedule breaks with bye weeks, etc. Do we lean under here?
David's on it.
I think we lean under.
David's on it. This is stick a fork in him. No, I mean, going game by game on the schedule, you don't even have to do that. You just look at the end of the year and you see at Oklahoma State, at Kansas State, at Arizona. Loss. That's rough, man. The 5 away games, they play 6 away games, 5 in conference. They also go to Cincinnati and Texas Tech, which not the greatest teams, but also not the most fun place to go on the road and play in a hostile environment as a team that's, scraping for wins. Man. And then they also play a non-con at Texas State. That's a loss.
Save some bullets real quick for the schedule, because we that's our next segment. So
I know, it's just you just see their away games and you're like, man, you gotta think the under.
I agree. Before we dive into it game by game, I would lean under. I just think this is a tad too high, and I wanted to be on the over because I like Dillingham. And I think that they could take a step, but maybe I'll convince myself that they can go 5-7. Probably not, but we're going to go game by game, talk best case, worst case, etc. But first, we got to talk about Underdog Fantasy. They just launched their new college football best ball product. First place wins $20,000. Troy's running over there, but Troy is going to be giving out Underdog lineups all season long, and he's already doing so. He gave out some baseball, gives out some golf. When college football gets here, you're going to want to follow at Troy Tuning on his page, but also you're going to want to follow us because we're going to do a Big 12 group Underdog lineup each and every week on Best Ball. And you got to use that code right above me, TCESGPN, to get the best time deposit offer up to $250 bonus in cash. So you get their best bang for your buck. Underdog Fantasy, Promo code right above me, TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Circus Survivor and Circa Millions. Circus Sports is back, better, bigger than ever, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes, 5 games ATS each week, and the $6 million NFL Survivor Challenge. Sign up in person, Circus Sports, and use the proxy code, footballproxy.com, to save you $50 off with the code SGP. Don't have your travel booked already in Vegas? Well, don't worry. Ryan and Sean will be there August 22nd through the 24th. You're going to want to go meet up with them at the greatest sports book in America, Circus Sports, Circus Survivor, Circa Millions. All righty, we are back. And Troy, I was just telling the audience that you're going to be giving away underdog best ball lineups left and right this year. So, and we'll do one on the big, just as a group as well throughout the year. So, yeah. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, it used to be easier in the Big 12 putting together a best ball lineup.
Yeah.
Now we're going to have to find a lot of value. How are we going to find people to put around Ollie Gordon is all I'm going to say. There's going to have to be a guy that's on every best ball lineup that's just going to be like our guy.
Yeah.
Got to find like the third. We got to find like maybe like CJ Donaldson. He'll just punch in like 12 4-yard carries this year, and that'll be our best ball. Like, that's our horse.
I'm in. Let's go. All right, Troy, let's talk schedule here.
Ouch.
We already talked about the win total, 4.5. They have 2 games to open up at home, Wyoming and Mississippi State. Let's talk Wyoming first. First year head coach, what's his name that took over just recently? I'm drawing a blank. It's Jay Saville, if I'm mispronouncing his name. He was at Wyoming defensive coordinator for the last 23 years. So Craig Bohl hands off the keys. I kind of lean Arizona State here at home because it's not like Wyoming's not the same team away from Laramie.
It's not Wyoming at home, which is one of the biggest advantages in all of college football. But
yeah,
like I was kind of hinting at with the defense, Wyoming is going to be pretty run heavy this year. And I think Arizona State can stop the run. So I'm actually giving this one to Arizona State. They're starting 1-0, looking like this 4.5 win total is nothing.
Yeah. Ready? I got them at 2-0. I think they're going to.
Me too.
I think they're going to beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State has like 3 or 4 guys back.
Another first-year head coach too.
Yeah. So, all right, here we go.
I also have them at 2-0. Actually, believe it or not.
Oh God, yeah, 2-0, baby. Let's go. So Troy and I are in agreement here, 2-0, and this is where it gets dark. They're going. Who scheduled this fucking game? They're going to Texas State Thursday Night Football, September 12th. And it's a short week too. It's not even like one of those where you have a bye week and you basically have 11 days in between the Saturday and Thursday. They got that quick turnaround from Saturday to Thursday. Texas State's going to get them in San Marcos.
They're going to be gassed by the second quarter playing this Texas State offense.
Oh, they're fucking good, man.
And they the kid from James Madison transferred to Texas State to play quarterback, right? I think the JMU QB is the one that transferred to Texas State.
Yes, in Texas State, there's a bunch of guys back from last year too that went bowling in the first year head coach there. So I'm with you. I got Texas State. I actually could see Texas State putting it on them.
I've got Texas State as a chance to get that bid in the 12-team playoff.
100%, I'm with you. They bring
I
back.
think they could run the table. Oh yeah, especially if they. I mean, it's not even going to be like if they get this game against Arizona State. It's going to be if they can beat them by multiple touchdowns. Look out! G.J. Kenny's got them going down there. I think this is the hardest of their non-con games.
Yeah, they bring back 14 starters off a team that was good last year. So Arizona State, I don't know who scheduled this game, but they need to be fired. Then they got to go to Lubbock next week. This is a loss, 2-2.
Yeah, I have them losing this game as well. Just not a fun place to play on the road. I don't really know if the teams are really all that mismatched. Like, I don't think Texas Tech is significantly more talented than Arizona State. I do think they are, but I don't think that it's by like some super large margin. It just feels like a game that Texas Tech wins at the end because they're playing at home.
I am in agreement with you. So then they get the bye. They get a week 4 bye. Then they get, man, I wish they had a more winnable game here. They got Kansas and Utah at home off the bye week, but those two teams are had such better rosters than them and better quarterback. I mean, Jalen
Yeah,
Daniels, they could beat Kansas if Daniels is hurt right now.
Maybe. I was gonna say if they really do have a defense that can kind of stop the run, they might be able to hang in it for a while with Kansas. But I just see that one as like an attrition battle that by the time we get to the third and fourth quarter, Kansas really starts, kind of gashing them for a little bit more than they were. And I don't give them more than like 1 or 2% chance against Utah.
Yeah, so
this would be a challenging game for a league opponent, for a new league team in the desert if Utah didn't already play there all the time.
I'm in agreement. Yeah, I think Utah's going to fuck them up. I think Utah is a bad matchup of Arizona State. Just physicality, discipline, 2-4 for both of us. This has been I don't know if we've ever just agreed on every single game, but this is pretty
6 games.
straight.
I know.
Yeah. All right, so here's a big one. This is interesting, and I'm looking up what Cincinnati has. So Cincinnati will be coming off an at UCF game, and they got at Colorado the following week. We don't know what we think of Satterfield at this point. Can Arizona State get a win at Cincinnati headed into the bye?
I mean, I think if you're going to give them one, this is one you could give them.
Yeah. What do you think? They're a 3-4 point dog here?
Yeah, I think this will be maybe 3.5. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, unless something goes horribly wrong where Arizona State just looks really, really bad, I think they've got a chance in this one.
I kind of want to give him this one.
I mean, it still doesn't hurt. I wouldn't mind giving him this win and then probably just BYU.
Well, I'm going to make the case for one more that I think that they could get. So they got to bye. Then they're in Stillwater. They're going to get their ass kicked. Same logic as Utah. It's from a physicality standpoint.
Well, they beat them last year in Tempe, so
yeah. They beat them with the 3 quarterback system. If you lost to them playing 3 quarterbacks, including Gundy's son, you're not beating them when they actually play to win, rather than playing it like a preseason game. Gundy beat them playing it like a preseason fucking game.
Which again, kind of another poor place to have the weekend off and then come right back at Stillwater. That's again not really a beatable team. That like if the Cincinnati and Oklahoma State games were switched, I would definitely give them Cincinnati. But obviously, Oklahoma State is going to kind of beat the brakes off of them.
We're in agreement. I could talk you into this one.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I'll talk myself into it.
Maybe the chat.
UCF, go look at UCF's schedule, and this is my only logic. They're playing 7 straight weeks. This is, for whatever reason, UCF's got a fucked up schedule where they have a bye week.
Because that Florida game got added late in week 6.
I think that's what it is. You're absolutely right, because that Florida game, their bye week's September 21st. They don't have a bye for 2 months after that. Arizona State will have been the final game in that stretch of going Colorado at Florida, Cincy at Iowa State, BYU, Arizona. Then they got to go to Tempe on the final game before their second bye. I'm gonna say they lose at Cincy and then they get this one. Like I'm gonna go that they're gonna get one of these two.
I mean, just based on the schedule, I think that the UCF one is probably more likely for them, just because typically I would say UCF is a more physical team than Arizona State, but after so many games in a row, you might be able to get them down on gas. So I do think it would be doable. If we get to this point in the season and UCF is playing well, though, KJ Jefferson will just win the game on his own.
I agree.
So I still think they have a better chance of beating Cincinnati because Cincinnati is a worse team. But it is very common that the scheduling in college football kind of plays more than the skill level of the team mattering.
Yeah. Well, and look ahead spot too. Who's UCF? UCF has at West Virginia. They have the bye, then they go at West Virginia. So Arizona State then then they go to Manhattan. Loss. and they're going to K-State in November. They're going to get drilled.
I think no matter how good the run defense could be for Arizona State, I think Kansas State could win this game without throwing a forward pass.
Probably. All right, so probably the final chance to get a win here, Troy. BYU at home. Who does BYU?
I mean,
they could get this one.
I would even give them this one, but that still puts them at 4 for me.
I'm with you because I said there's no way that they're going to win at Cincy and then beat.
This would be if Arizona State beats BYU. I don't think anything else matters for the rest of the year unless BYU already has 9 or 10 wins by that point, which I highly doubt. This would be the Keilani Sitake dagger.
I think you're right. I got BYU scheduled side by side, so maybe Sitake's there, maybe he's not. But this seems like I'm with you. It seems like a good spot to fade old Sitake here, and give Arizona State their 4th win. They finish at Arizona. Arizona's going to drill them, their rival. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Sun Devil fans.
Yeah, this one also could be we're not taking anybody out of the game. We're trying to get Tat McMillan to 1,700 receiving yards.
Or
need to pad these stats. Yeah, or Fafita to the Heisman or any of that stuff. This one's going to be ugly. If you can get any kind of look-ahead lines on this one a couple of weeks out, just go ahead and take Arizona to cover whatever they're giving them. The teabagging in Tucson.
Yeah, well, you had Arizona 9-3. I had them at 8-4. Real quick, we got to talk about rhythm, and we're going to talk about best case, worst case for this for the Sun Devils. The British Open is this week. If you did not know, it started today. And if you're checking out the AI picks and props, well, rhythm, you're missing out. Not just outright winners, but top 5, top 10, top 20s. Miss the cut, make the cut. You can do it all. Build your own model today. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. All righty, man. Let's give this out. All right, so I think, are both pretty confident on the under actually here because they're going to be favored in 3 games, maybe. BYU,
Wyoming,
and Mississippi State.
And Mississippi State, they might not. That might even be a pick 'em.
Yeah, I got to look ahead, and it looks like it's going to be around Arizona State -2. So,
yeah.
I mean, basically a pick within the margin of error. It's election season, so within the margin of error. They are definitely going to be favored in 1 game, Wyoming. They probably are favored slightly under field goal against Mississippi State and then BYU. They're not going to be favored at Texas State.
No. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
So,
I would think maybe BYU would be a chance. They're playing at home. There's a chance that one's like a 1.5 or a 2.5.
Yes. And Sitake's fired, or it's on the verge of it. Troy, best case scenario. They win Wyoming.
They beat Texas State on the road.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, maybe Texas Tech. Maybe they get Texas Tech. Maybe they get like walloped by Texas State and then have a great response game and win 1 extra against Texas Tech. But
so
besides that, I don't know. I mean, maybe they get. I mean, Kansas and Utah seems rough. Maybe they get both Cincinnati.
6? Can they even get 6? And I guess the path to a bowl.
They would have to go Cincinnati, UCF, BYU if they were going to get to 6 and beat either Texas State or Texas Tech, I think. The only other one I could see is maybe they do have some injury issues and maybe they pick off Kansas at home.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think that that's super likely. I think your best shot would be wins against Wyoming, Mississippi State, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, UCF, and BYU. But I think that is the best case scenario. I think 6 wins would be considered a national championship for Dillingham.
Yeah,
because if they win 6 games, it's
I think that they're more likely to win Texas State than Texas Tech just because of the athletes that Texas Tech has, and Texas State, it still is a group of 5, but those group of 5s have been really good against Power 5s in these home games.
Well, I was going to say, would you take Texas Tech straight up against Texas State if they were to play?
Well, where's the game played? That's a big question.
I mean, both of these are on the road for Arizona State. So
if they played on a neutral, I would take Texas Tech. But if they played it in San Marcos, I would be tempted to take Texas State as well. But it'd be
so they'd be considered like pretty comparable teams to you.
Somewhat. I mean, I think Texas Tech is probably about a touchdown better, but I just think also when you get a G5 on the road, we saw how many Big 12 teams lost at G5 last year. Tech lost at Wyoming. Iowa State lost at Ohio.
Oklahoma State lost at home to South Alabama.
Yeah. I mean, that was a preseason game. They didn't play their guys. That was self-inflicted preseason guys. But Troy, I mean, the path to 6 wins is you're 3-1 at the bye. We laid it out. Wyoming, Mississippi State, and then you get one of those 2 road games at the Texas schools. Maybe Kansas out of the bye if they're banged up, and maybe
if everything goes perfect. Yeah.
What's the floor? Because I think the floor is way more likely than the ceiling that we're laying out.
Well, the floor is they lose to Wyoming right off the bat, and then things go south.
I think 1-11 is the floor.
Yeah, if they were to lose to Wyoming and then go 0-3 in non-con, or even just 1-2 in non-con, I would be very scared of that Kansas-Utah back-to-back losses leading to a team that gives up at that point.
Yeah.
And of course, that would be happening right before you get to your winnable at Cincinnati and your UCF and BYU games. But yeah, I mean, I could see them beating Wyoming and going winless. That wouldn't be ultra shocking. I think it would be, kind of statistically difficult to do. It's just as hard as going 11-1. But I don't know. Maybe 2 losses is your floor. Like maybe.
I think it might be 1, dude. They're only going to be
1 win. Sorry, I don't know why I said loss.
Oh, no. They're really only going to be outright favored in 1 game, Wyoming. That's a 7-point line right now.
And if they were to lose to Mississippi State the next week, even after beating Wyoming, I do think that you could see a quick downturn. Because you could definitely lose at Texas State and at Texas Tech, head into the bye, be 1-3, and then get Kansas and Utah right afterwards. That would be a team that's going to give up at 1-5, I think.
How the hell did they get at Oklahoma State, at K-State, and at Arizona 3 out of the last 5 games? I mean, that's 3 out of the 4 best teams.
There's
all on the road.
I mean, there's no chance to get any momentum after that. I mean, really, after the first bye, they have no back-to-back winnable games, really. They go Kansas, Utah, and then Cincy, and then Oklahoma State. Then you get a UCF. Then you got to go Kansas State. Then you get a BYU. Then you got to go Arizona. Those are momentum stabbers. Because those are probably not going to be 1-possession losses.
Man, I like Arizona State. I hope they prove us wrong. I hope Dillingham takes a stride here, but I kind of think honestly 4-8's a decent year with that schedule.
Yeah, I think if they get that 4th win, that would be. I mean, I know that their win total is set.
Really good.
Yeah, I know their win total set at 4.5. So that 4-5 win area is what's predicted. Last year, kind of the same thing. They only got 3. So, if they get to that 4 win or even that 5 win mark, I do think that that's more than 1 step forward for Dillingham. I think that's a pretty big leap.
We're in agreement, man. They did not get the cupcake FCS games that some of these teams got. They got Wyoming and at Texas State and Mississippi State.
But I will note that this is the West Coast UCF in terms of the bazungas that will be bouncing around in the crowd will match that of the UCF crowd out there in Tempe. They've got some lookers, baby. Tempe's a nice place to people watch.
The West Coast bounce house.
The West Coast bounce house.
The desert bounce house. So, all right, man. This has been fun. Most importantly, we're happy Arizona State's in the league. Just like Arizona, we're looking forward to the Dust Bowl at the end of the year every single year. I think Arizona State's got the right guy at the helm. That's the most important thing. I think Dillingham has it going in the right direction. Just a tough schedule this year in a really, really tough, evenly balanced league. But Troy, before we get up out and out of here, fill us in what you got going on.
Well, we're hoping for either Shane Lowry or Sepp Straka to win this British Open. Shane's looking a little bit better, but we will see they said something about the wind today wasn't the same direction that it usually is at Troon. Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll see a little switch up, the crosswind going the other way tomorrow. But that's pretty much it, man. We got a little bit of golf and some Olympics to carry us through until we finally get to some real man-on-man fucking – I wanted to say man-on-man banging action, but that might not have been the right way to phrase it.
Yeah, that could have been politically incorrect. So.
I don't think we're allowed to link those websites in the YouTube chat.
No, we're staying away from that. So, all right, guys, that'll do it for Arizona State. Go check out the college football experience with Colby and those guys. Breaking down all 134 teams. I think Arizona State's on their radar here soon when they do the Big 12. Go check out the college basketball experience. Actually, college basketball coming at you here next with the head coach of North Alabama, Tony Pujol, joining the show. And also, go check out, we're going to be doing some TBT action this next weekend. So go check out the FCS experience. Go check out the college baseball experience, you Arizona State fans. That's all I got. We will be back next week to talk Troy's Baylor Bears and Rush's BYU Cougars. So make sure you're subscribe, tell a friend, and spread the good word of the college experience. He is at Troy Tuning. I'm at Moneyline_Mac. We are the Big 12 College Experience, and we are out of here. Pork stuff. Is that it?
Not as fun as the